Welcome, everyone. It's Trey Jadlow here. here on this 25th day of November 2022, the day after Thanksgiving. And I'm here joined with my new friend, Tim, whom I met on Twitter, I don't know, a week or two ago. We've had some spicy interaction, and he has very kindly and agreed to come on here and chat with me. We were originally scheduled to have a discussion next Thursday, but I was trying to goad Aaron Raw to have a conversation in a thread, and basically said, no, I'll go ahead. Well, there's another guy too that came in, and he said he'd agreed to come in place for this other fellow. So welcome, Tim. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate it.
Sure. So I think maybe why don't we talk about that? This goading thing that
Sure.
you do. It doesn't seem like a very friendly way of dealing with people. Like if you want to get people to talk to you, being hostile to them doesn't seem like very effective. What do they say about catching flies with honey instead of vinegar, right? And there's this person from, as far as they can tell, comes out of nowhere, who is challenging things that are very well established in the scientific community, who says things that we all know are false about those things. And then when somebody doesn't want to talk to you because you just said these really weird things, you then say that they're running away? I mean, but who are you? Why do they want to talk to you?
Tim, listen, did I invite them to have an exchange?
You did, but only after
And did they decline?
Only after you said things that made them angry.
What do you mean?
So why are you blaming them? You said things like, why did PZ Myers... Didn't you have a little exchange with PZ Myers?
I did.
Okay, and he's a real professor of biology. And were you the one who's tried to say that there was a problem with gene regulation networks, or was that somebody else?
Somebody else.
Okay. All right. So I don't want to mix you up with somebody else. But with Aaron Ra, you said things that we know about evolution that nobody believes. But you said that they were... We'd have to go back and look at it. Something about spontaneous generation.
I said if it were not for spontaneous generation, the Darwinian synthesis would have never taken hold.
Why? That just sounds like completely made up thing to say. No, Darwin was observing species of finches and saw that each one they're all the same genus, and they were all adapted to different niches in their environments. And this is, and he wasn't the first person to observe this. People have been observing adaptation to environment for a long time before then. He was just the first person to publish about this. And there's a whole lot of things that he didn't know about, like, for instance, genetics. Nobody at the time had a clue about genetics, okay? So when the DNA was discovered, there are two things could have happened. Either DNA could have said, nope, none of this is possible. Everything you think about evolution is completely false, or it could have corroborated it. And guess what it did? It corroborated it. If you do family trees from fossils, and then you do family trees from DNA, you get the same family trees. This is independent corroboration. Okay. So you come in with some off the wall, completely unrelated thing about spontaneous generation, something that people haven't believed in, that Darwin didn't believe in. This is some superstitious thing, or it was a guess that people had prior to any understanding of where species came from. Okay. So then Darwin comes along and he finds a completely different way to characterize this, like completely unrelated in every possible way from this spontaneous generation thing. And here you are connecting what Darwin found to spontaneous generation. Why should anybody take you seriously if you say things like this? And yet you say things like this, and then and people are like, what is wrong with this guy? And they don't want to talk to you. And then you blame them for not wanting to talk to you.
Yeah, I do blame them because...
No, but you're the one who said the dumb thing. So it's not their fault. You're the one who said a mind-blowingly ignorant thing, as if you thought it was fact. And they're like, what is wrong with this guy? If I talk to this guy, he's going to do nothing but waste my time. I've seen little bits of your exchange with Pine
Pine
Creek.
Creek.
Yeah, and I don't know. It just didn't seem like you listened to anything he said. You know,
Did you listen to the entire exchange?
no, I skipped around for bits of it, and
That's
I
what I
like
thought.
maybe you did listen to some things he said, and I didn't see them. Okay, but what I did
Pine
see is
Creek was
consistent.
utterly demolished with his silly
I don't believe that
view.
for a second.
Okay,
Okay,
why don't you go back and watch
look,
it then?
all he, there's
Isn't it?
no. It's
Tim,
not
would you let me
possible
talk?
to no. Look,
You have been dominating this conversation the entire time. Haven't let me talk.
yes, because you are rude to people, and I'm trying to get to you to explain. I'm trying to explain that to you. I'm trying to explain to you that these problems that you're encountering with other people are your fault. This was the biggest, most difficult lesson I ever learned when I was in my 20s. Why did I piss people off so much all the time? And I had a very kind person sit down and explain these things to me, and it made such a huge difference in my life. Okay, and I'm sorry that I'm not as patient with you as he was with me, but this is a thing that benefited me that I want to pay forward. Okay, and I really think it's important that you listen. That the problems you're having have nothing to do with the topic that you want to discuss. It has to do with the way you are treating people on social media. I'm going to shut up now.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to talk. Here's the thing. It's ironic, Tim, that you would say that I am too forward and sassy with my perspective, and you don't even know what my perspective is. And it's a good thing to listen to somebody before you make a judgment. You haven't done that at all. You've jumped to conclusions. You basically said, because I mentioned spontaneous generation, therefore I know nothing about the Darwinian synthesis.
Why did you mention? Okay, I got to stop you. Why did you mention spontaneous generation if you knew it had no connection with evolution?
It does have a connection. There's a connection,
No,
but it's
it
not.
does.
It's
Okay.
not evolution. It's not the Darwinian synthesis. But do you know what the greatest?
No, there's no
difficulty-
connection. I'm just going to tell you. There's no connection between spontaneous
Okay.
generation
I'm
and the
glad you're
Darwinian
the smartest
synthesis.
person in the room, Timothy, telling me how stupid I am.
This is what you do to everybody you talk to on Twitter. Like constantly, you're telling people how stupid they are. And now you finally have somebody who just is sick of watching it, telling you this to you like it is, and you're sitting here making excuses.
Tim, have you ever watched any of my exchanges full through?
No,
not one of them.
No, I have watched.
You do not know who I am then.
On Twitter. So are you somebody different from who you are on Twitter?
Completely.
So you behave like a jerk on Twitter on purpose?
No, I have a very dry sense of humor.
No. That's not an excuse. I used to use that excuse. It is.
How do you know it's an excuse?
Because I used that excuse.
Oh, so I'm like you.
Yes.
Everybody's like you.
You were like me when I was a teenager. You specifically. You behave to people arrogantly and like I did when I was a teenager. I thought I knew my shit. I didn't. I had this weird sense of humor that did nothing but piss people off. This is behavior I have seen because I've done it. And I'm trying to share this with you.
And yet you've never watched one of my exchanges.
Look, you seem like a nice guy in these exchanges. Okay. So the Trey on Twitter and the Trey on, let's just grant you that your exchanges on YouTube, you are a completely different person. But if you are intentionally behaving towards these people on Twitter in a hostile and toxic manner, and then as a result of those exchanges on Twitter, they decide they don't want to have a YouTube discussion with you, that's not their fault.
Okay, so here's the deal. The skeptical community is one about dry, sarcastic.
Okay. Tu quoque fallacy. No. It doesn't matter what somebody else did.
I am not
Two wrongs
blaming.
don't make a right.
Tim, if I can't have a conversation, this
Serious?
is a waste of time.
No, you're launching headlong into a tu quoque fallacy. You're trying to say because these other people are assholes that you get to be one too. No,
that is not. This is not going well, Tim.
Yeah, I know. because you've made people angry, and I feel for you. And I've been trying so hard to explain to you this on Twitter, and you're not listening. And then we're having this conversation, and
I can't
you're
get
still
over
not
it
listening.
You're mansplaining like you cannot imagine.
Oh my God. See, this is the shit that you do. Mansplaining.
You don't even know
why?
me.
No, what's this shit about wiping people's asses? Like, I'm
Every
seriously
time-
trying to explain to you. No, this is bullshit. I'm trying to explain to you how you pissed somebody off, and you're going on about wiping somebody's ass because they're my hero. Like, how disingenuous and rude is that? Dude, there's no excuse for this. How old are you?
I'm 56.
Okay, I'm 49, and I don't do this crap. Why? What makes you think that it's okay for you to behave like this?
Because I have a humorous.
No. What? You have a humerus. You have a bone in your leg. Mm-hmm. You have a bone in your leg.
It's a funny bone. Yeah,
okay. Whatever. Is it arm? I forget. I don't remember where the humerus is. Okay. But no, because these things aren't funny. You think they're funny, but other people don't. They think they're mean. Why does your opinion about what you said matter more than everybody else you're affecting?
I would love to have.
No, I have encountered this. This is just like my sister. She believes that if she does something horrible, but didn't mean for it to be horrible, that it doesn't matter. It's like she's not responsible for the damage she caused. No, your humor is not an excuse to mistreat people. If you want to be funny, say things that are actually funny, not things that are rude and insulting and hurt people.
It's just not possible to have a conversation, is it?
That's up to you. Can you behave like an adult? Can you be mature? You know, or are you just going to like delete this video when we're done? Because
I'm not going to delete
calling
this video.
You on this. Okay.
I've never deleted a video, Tim. I've got an entire library on my page. You can watch and see. Very thoughtful conversations, which this is not.
I'm just trying to help you.
Oh, thanks. I don't need help. I need a conversation, my friend.
Well, then can you explain to me why you think you're better than other people and are
I don't think I'm better than other people.
What? Okay, please explain to me why you think you're entitled to behave towards other people in ways that they don't behave towards each other unless they're intentionally being rude.
Oh my goodness. Oh my. No.
And if their behavior is wrong, if their behavior is bad.
What do you mean by bad?
Insulting, rude, hurtful.
Is that sinful to do that?
I don't care.
Yes, you do care. You're marming me right now.
I'm talking about
the question
that you have on people. I don't give a crap about your silly terminology. I'm talking about actual effects that you have on other people. Why do you think it's okay to go around making people feel bad?
I have no intention of such a thing, ever.
I believe you. Why don't you stop yourself from doing it?
Because not everybody is a marm like you.
What is a marm?
A school mistress. She's like got a wave her
there you
finger
go
and tell
again,
everybody.
Blaming somebody else for the problem that you caused.
You know what, Tim? I've got a lot of work to do.
I have work to do too. But this is ridiculous. You insult people, and then they decide they don't want to talk to you. And then you say they're running away, and you pat yourself on the back for it as if you won something. But you engineered the situation. Why is that okay?
I don't know. I guess I shouldn't be talking.
Why is that? I've got a question. Why is that okay?
Well, why is it not okay?
It's definitely unfair and hypocritical.
Is that sinful?
If you want to call it that, that's fine. Are you saying that if somebody doesn't call something a sin, that it isn't wrong?
What do you mean by wrong?
See, now
you're
being incredibly disingenuous. No, I'm not. I'm telling you about the visible effect that you have on people. I don't care what you call it. You use whatever names you want. You are affecting people negatively. Why is that?
Marm.
So you're saying that it's not okay for me to point out when you have insulted somebody?
I think that you need to grow a humerus.
I have a great sense of humor. Actually,
No, you don't.
people groan at my puns, but I know this PhD physicist at CERN who has even worse puns. But no, I'm trying to talk to you about something that you're doing that is
And I want to have a
self-defeating, and you're
conversation.
deflecting. But you're deflecting.
I'm deflecting.
No, the
What's the topic of this discussion, Tim?
The instant you brought up, is it sinful? That was a deflection because you don't know how to address the
You're
topic.
judging me by my standard. You don't have a standard.
That's fine. Let's do an internal critique.
Okay.
What would Jesus treat people like this?
Yeah, he used sarcasm. Is sarcasm sinful in your view?
Would he say something that he knew was going to push someone away when he felt it was important to talk to them?
He did that all the time. People walked away from what he said. He said, unless you
No. That's not what I'm asking.
I'm not trying to push anyone away. I'm seeking to engage thoughtfully.
You are having, so Jesus was all knowing. So if he behaved in some way that resulted in somebody being pushed away, he knew already that that was their fault. You are not Jesus. You are doing things, whether you intend to or not, that are alienating other people. Yet yet inconsistently with that, you say you want to have these conversations with people.
I do indeed.
Okay, so if you want to have nice conversations with people, I think it might help you a lot if you treated them better when inviting them.
Okay, so are you saying that Jesus' standard is your standard?
I'm saying it's your standard.
No, I'm talking about your standard. You're judging me.
I have, there are a lot of things that Jesus said that I agree with, or at least what's reported.
Do you have a reason to agree with him?
Yes.
What
empirical observation of how these behaviors affect other people.
Is that an ought or an is?
It's an is.
No, it's an ought.
It's definitely an is. It's definitely an is.
Ought people, you won't let me talk. Ought people treat each other with charity?
Why don't you treat people with charity?
Is that a moral imperative, Tim?
Okay, let's say that it is. Why don't you treat people with charity?
I do treat people with charity all the time.
No, I've been watching you on Twitter. Maybe you treat them with charity on YouTube.
Tim,
I'm judging your behavior. Yeah, I'm judging your behavior.
How can you judge my heart?
I am judging your behavior. I'm talking about.
And how do you know what's going on in my mind?
No. Let me correct you here. I'm not talking about what's going on in your mind. I'm not talking about what's going on in your heart. I'm talking about the specific things that you have said on Twitter. Let's say I'm misunderstanding it. Let's say I'm misunderstanding it.
Okay.
So is everybody else.
No,
maybe it would be valuable if you took some responsibility for other people not understanding what you say.
Okay. Can you give me a reason for your ought?
Yes, because it would have a positive effect on how people perceive you and would result in better conversations and more conversations. You seem to be driven. This is a goal of yours, to have conversations with people on YouTube. You enjoy this. This is important to you, right?
No, so it's important to you.
What?
Having thoughtful conversation is why you're on Twitter, right?
Yeah, I try.
Why?
Because I have clinical depression and it helps with that.
Okay, so it's to sanctify your existence?
What?
It's to further the betterment of your existence.
It does help me. It teaches me to be more patient with people. It also helps some other people.
Is it because your life matters?
So is it because my life? I think it's because my behavior towards other people matters, and I'm using difficult people on Twitter as a way to try to train myself to be more patient. And I apologize for losing my patience with you, but you are a particularly difficult case. Okay. No, seriously, I have been working for years. I started out being a lot bigger jerk on Twitter, and I decided that what I wanted to do was try to maintain as neutral a tone as possible. And if somebody said something I disagreed with, I would just flatly disagree with it, as much as I can. That's not perfect. I still say stupid things that I shouldn't say because it's hard. It's really hard. It's active. It's an active mental process to edit myself to try to be kinder to people when I don't feel that they deserve it. Okay. Because you know what? I could be wrong about whether or not they deserve it. Right. So, and this is something that's always on my mind, that I think this person is being a complete and total jerk. You know what? I know in your heart, you don't mean to hurt anybody. You said it, I believe you. Okay? But you are having the unintentional effect of alienating people. And I'm trying to do my best to share with you my experience and the things that I have learned to help with that. Because you want to have productive conversations. You have a thing that you want to share with people, right? And if you say, all right, Jesus is the biggest thing in my life, I want to share that. If you act like somebody nobody wants to be around, they will think that Jesus is somebody that nobody wants to be around, because you are the only representative they can get when they're talking with you.
Okay. I'm still wanting to understand why it is that you think that existence is objectively valuable.
Oh my God. What does that have to do with what I'm talking about?
That's what the center of this whole conversation.
No, it has nothing to do with it.
I am not valuing other people's existence.
Okay. Why don't you value other people's existence?
I do.
Okay. Then why don't you act like it?
I'm asking you, why do you do that? I'm asking
why do
for
I
your
do
reason.
What?
Why do you value other people's existence?
Because
not a feeling. I need a reason.
Okay. Will you actually listen to my reason? I mean, because I don't think you're going to like it. Okay. Humans are a social species. This is a trait of all social species, that what is good for the herd is good for the gene pool. And as you know, gene pools are what evolve, not individuals. So self-sacrifice, empathy, all of these things that we call morals that are written on our heart by God, those are the product of evolution as a social species. We are biologically driven to put our families, then the needs of our families and the emotions of our families ahead of our own. So we work our butts off so that our kids can eat and have the resources they need and go to college, right? Because we care for them. And this is biologically driven. And it isn't just personal opinion. This is the way humans are. This is the way humans evolved as a social species. We see very similar behaviors in all social species, from ants to other mammals. Okay. So this is the answer to your question. Why do I value other people? Because I'm part of the species.
Okay, so you would say that the Darwinian synthesis has teleological purpose in it?
No.
You said value, the goal is existence, right?
No.
No?
No. Okay.
Survival of the fittest is not the goal?
No, that's not how evolution works.
Oh,
survival of the gene pool is how evolution works.
Okay, so survival of the gene pool is the goal.
It's not a goal. Okay.
What is it?
No. So
is it a purpose?
Let me explain this. Okay. Let's say you have two creatures.
This is exactly what I want to discuss.
Let's say we have two creatures, and one of them wants to survive and works to survive, and the other one doesn't. Okay. So the A works to survive and B does not. B dies.
Yeah.
A, with its traits of wanting to survive, breeds and passes that on, and their children have the same trait. So in the past, whenever creatures have been born that did not value their existence and did not work towards furthering their existence and breeding and taking care of their children and things like that, they died and didn't pass on those genes. So the genes in all of the rest of the people that did value their existence were what were left, and we are descended from them.
Okay. Is one of those, you had the two species, one in each hand, is one better than the other?
No. One died, the other didn't.
Okay.
One didn't pass on its genes, the others did.
If are axe murderers bad?
We think they are, because
why?
We don't like.
Is it a lie?
Do. Huh?
Is that a lie?
Is what a lie?
That are thinking that one is better than the other, a killer and a promoter.
Okay, so we define good and bad on the basis of what harms us or makes things better for us.
Right. Why?
Because those are the things that we observe.
Don't give me just so story. I want to know why the telos that you have.
If somebody,
how does that instantiate
unintentionally? Let me. If somebody kills someone who loves you, how do you feel about it?
I feel bad about it.
Right. That's why.
Why? I'm asking you the question.
Why do you? I explained to you already why you feel bad about it.
Okay? Why I have a telos unintentionally. My tell-us is to survive. Would you agree with that?
I've looked up tell-us before, and I haven't been able to make a lot of sense of it.
Ends, goal, or minute. It's a goal.
Yeah, we have goals. We decide goals,
Okay.
and
So teleology exists in the universe.
It exists in living creatures.
Are living creatures part of the universe?
Yes.
So
but it doesn't exist in rocks, but it does exist.
That's exactly right. Telos exists in the universe.
Okay, so goal-driven behavior, basically.
Okay, so the universe is teleological.
Parts of it are.
Okay, so the universe is teleological.
No, some of it is.
That doesn't matter. I'm not saying rocks.
Okay, before there was any life on the planet, before there was any life in the universe, nothing was teleological.
Okay, so how did unintentionality intend intention into the universe?
So
if the entire set of the universe is unintentional, how did it instantiate intentionality without intending it?
Well, because intentionality is a byproduct of a goal-driven system. It isn't a thing in and of itself.
If it's not a thing, then what is it?
It's
a non-thing.
It's a
there are only
label.
two things.
It's a label.
There's being and non-being.
It is a label that we apply to observed behaviors.
What does a label applied to?
The observed behaviors.
Are those behaviors real?
We perform those behaviors. Yes.
Okay. So are those behaviors teleological?
Maybe. It depends on what that means.
What do you mean maybe?
I don't really know what teleological means. You've explained it to me, and I've looked it up many times, and
it's
don't
intentionality. Telos is gained by intention. Do you agree that
intentionality doesn't just seems really vague to me? We have agents that have goals. Maybe the goals were something they came up with. Maybe maybe the goals were something that like showed up as a result of evolution. Okay, but whatever. We had
that's just a magic story. That's a
magic story. Okay, whatever. The point is that for some reason or other, we have acquired some goals. Mm-hmm. Okay, and
you don't know why. Them. Somehow we became purposeful unintentionally.
You can see behavior that is sort of looks kind of purposeful in bacteria, in the sense that they have the ability to sense chemicals in their environment and move towards food sources and away from threats and things like that. Mm-hmm. And really, they're just fairly simple mechanisms, right? Mm-hmm. You can interpret it as being teleological, or you can just say that as a result of its evolutionary history, the ones that didn't have this behavior. So genetic diversity is really important. You have a community with lots of different genes in it. And some of them have genes that do not result in behaviors that are beneficial. They die. The ones that are left, crossing fingers, if they're lucky enough, have behaviors that are beneficial to that environment. Okay. And some of the behaviors that we observe that are beneficial are like the ability to sense food sources and move away from threats. And you can see these kinds of apparently goal-directed behavior in incredibly simple life forms. Heck, you can see them in thermostats. Okay, temperature's too low. Let's kick on the furnace, right? And it's a trivially simple machine. We see this in bacteria. So, is it telos for it to have a mechanism that directs it to eat and reproduce and things like that?
Well, in this conversation, we're talking about Timothy Miller, PhD.
Yeah, but seriously,
it's
really, really hard. So I've spent a lot of time thinking about consciousness. Mm-hmm. And consciousness is one of those things that seems to be very circularly defined. It's this thing that humans do. What does that mean? Okay, we do lots of things.
They value existence. Existence matters. Let me help you out.
That is one tiny aspect of what it means to be conscious.
It's everything.
Okay?
It's everything.
So I've spent some time trying to figure out what is the minimal. We're like the maximum known example of consciousness that we can point to is in humans. Well, it's so complex that it's impossible to tell what counts as towards consciousness and what doesn't. Okay, like have I noticed that I have to pee yet or not? Okay. And then when I do, then some signal from part of my brain that notices that I've got enough urine in my bladder sends a signal to one part of my brain, which eventually gets it into my short-term memory in my prefrontal cortex, and I become consciously aware of the fact that I have to pee, and then that initiates a sequence of goal-directed behaviors to get to the bathroom. Okay, so this is like a massively complex system. If you look at a dog, you're not going to say the dog's not conscious, but it's less complex than a human. So we can work our way down to the bottom and say, what would be an example of the least conscious thing that we can say is conscious, right? Like a nematode or a thermostat or something, right? And I've spent some time. I have this Google Doc on it. I could, if you want to go over any of that, I could pull it up because it's been a while since I looked at it. But there are certain features of an agent that is conscious that have to exist. One of them is recurrence. Do you know what recurrence is?
No.
Okay, it's internal feedback. Okay, so if I have an artificial neural net, let's say I want to recognize handwritten digits. So I train an artificial neural net to do that, and there's a picture of a 5, and out the other end comes the output for 5 is higher than the others. Okay, so it has recognized the 5. But this system isn't conscious. It can just take input and produce output. It's pure stimulus response. But you could make a neural net that takes some of the hidden layers and feeds them back into the inputs. And now you have recurrence. You've got a feedback loop in the system. And now it has memory. Okay. So, and what that does is it gives it the ability to model something, right? Some aspect of his environment. A thermostat is modeling the temperature by reading a sensor. Okay. And then given that state information, things in the environment can be tracked. Okay, so if you can't track things in your environment, you're not conscious because you're not aware of anything, right? So it's a very important thing that we do as conscious creatures is we're actually simulating the environment around us. If we didn't do that, you could not catch a ball. You could not hit a moving target. You wouldn't have object permanence. You couldn't tell something's gone behind the tree and it's probably still there because we're modeling the environment. And when we want to do something in the environment, we use the simulation to try to think ahead. People plan ahead. It's a very important thing that people do, but all conscious creatures do that. They plan ahead by simulating the outcomes of actions that they might take to try to choose one that will achieve the best effect. Okay, and these are what I consider to be foundational aspects of. These are things that are necessary, maybe not sufficient, but necessary conditions for consciousness is the ability to model the environment. That doesn't mean that they're necessarily self-aware. If you're self-aware, that means that you have a model of yourself in the simulation, right? So this is where telos or intentionality or goal-directed behavior comes from. Generally speaking, is that we bring in information, we figure out what it means, try to determine what's an appropriate response, and then take some kind of action. And that's what it is. You have really simple AI agents that are goal-directed that have the same kind of telos. We programmed it. I didn't come up with its own telos. Actually, some of them do. If you can get this from evolutionary algorithms, like that kind of telos will arise on its own. But
that's just magic talk.
No, it's not magic talk. I've seen it happen myself.
You haven't seen it happen. You can't see telos.
Well, I have seen the results of evolutionary algorithms develop the ability to have internal feedback, state model of the world, and the ability to therefore engage in goal-directed behavior.
Okay, whence it comes from? Initially.
Well, so you can actually, there's YouTubers that have great videos on this stuff. So they actually show you, this is the genome for these little creatures that I'm simulating. And when they develop some mechanism for internal feedback, then they've got state, okay, and that they can use to actually engage in goal-directed behavior. But yet you can see that this is just a simple neural net with some internal feedback, okay? And so where did this come from? Well, these creatures started out not having it. But because they're because this is an evolutionary algorithm where population members are being mutated and bred over thousands and thousands of generations, the most viable ones inevitably develop some kind of goal-directed behavior that their ancestors didn't have. And yet we can watch those numbers change generation after generation. We can see these things go from not having goal-directed behavior to having goal-directed behavior. And where did it come from? Random numbers and selection. That's it.
Unintentionality, right?
Right. The random numbers didn't have any intention.
Right. How did they intend the intention?
Well, so
it's a philosophical
the best answer I can give you is that
without violating the law of identity. You're violating the law of identity right now.
No, no. So the mechanism for these little simulated creatures doesn't change other than some numbers that control how inputs connect to outputs.
Numbers are not intentional.
So?
Unintentionality is unintentional. It's not intentional.
Okay, so I'm trying to explain what I'm saying is.
You're giving me
at the end of the simulation, okay, we have simulated creatures that have developed goal-directed behavior. Their ancestors didn't have it. They do.
And they did it unintentionally, right?
Yes.
So unintentionality intends intention.
So
you're violating the law.
A mechanism. A mechanism. Okay, this is sophistry here. A mechanism. No.
Aristotle was sophistry.
Because this law of identity doesn't apply here. Because we're not talking about identical things.
Because it doesn't work with my paradigm.
No. Look, if you were talking about two electrons, which are fundamentally identical, then we could make this argument. But we're not talking about electrons. We're talking about complex systems.
Is everything on the one side unintentional, and then it becomes intentional?
Maybe you and I had different definitions of intentional.
Okay, well then delineate it. Let's clear it.
So let me. I'm trying to do that. Okay. So we have simulated organisms. They're not real organisms. They don't breed quite the same as real ones. So, stipulate that. But what we have is a process of evolution that occurs by using literal random number generators. Like there's no intentionality in that. Mm-hmm. Like I've done it both ways. I have used pseudo random number sources and I have used actual random sources based on, using fluctuations in network time protocol and whatever. Okay, there's all kinds of ways you can get really random numbers. It doesn't matter whether the random numbers are pseudo random or like really random. You need random numbers that make random decisions where you have
pseudo random is not random.
I don't know. Does it matter?
Do you know what pseudo means? Yeah.
No, I know what pseudo. I just explained to you that I've tried it both ways. Okay.
Well, one way is completely different from the other. Pseudo random is teleological. Random is non-teleological.
Pseudo random isn't teleological. It is deterministic, but in a way that's hard to.
It's determined. Ahead. Yes, it's teleological. That's what the word means. Okay. Oh my goodness.
Okay. let me go back to what I was saying. Is you can get sources of random numbers that are not from pseudo random number generators. Okay. You can get those. Like as far as we can tell, I mean, people use atomic, vibrations to get random numbers. Okay, use quantum mechanics to get random numbers. You can get numbers that, as far as we can tell, there's no intentionality on our part in it. Those are random numbers. Okay,
not on our part, but does intentionality exist if you're intentional?
Okay, just let me finish.
You're totally red herring this, my friend. You're moving. You're not trying to. But you're trying to bring up other arguments that are really unrelated to what we're talking about. We're talking about you, Timothy Miller.
I know, but I'm a complex machine that's hard to analyze. So are you. Okay. And so if we want to talk,
hard to analyze?
Because we're incredibly complex
creatures.
It's
a philosophical, not a biological question, my friend.
Well, no, the scale is important, right? All the intentionality that I have is on so many different levels. It's mind-boggling. This is the way it is with humans. Is that we have all these layers in our brains, and we have these things that bubble up from the brainstem or from the limbic system that we don't, they just sort of pop, the end results pop into our consciousness, right? You don't analyze the colors of some object. Here's my some thyroid pills. Okay. We're not analyzing the colors off of that. Okay.
That thyroid pills too.
Yeah. Actually, no, these are the thyroid
micrograms.
pills. Anyway, so liothyronine, because I can't take T4, it doesn't work for me.
I take levothyroxine.
Yeah. Normally people convert T4 to T3, and I don't seem to do that conversion properly.
I don't have a thyroid.
Oh, well, oh my gosh. So yeah, but there's an enzyme that usually will convert T4 to T3. And evidently that doesn't work right for me. So I have to take T3.
Oh, okay.
I have enough T4 evidently.
Interesting.
Yeah. And my TSH level is a bad predictor of what my actual thyroid health is. It's weird. Anyway, so when I look at this thing, I'm not analyzing the colors, right? So what happens is that light comes into my retina and there's a whole bunch of processing that happens in the retina. There's some edge detection and things like that. That information flows through a network in my brain that does things like detect location, categorize familiar things based on patterns, and a whole bunch of things like that. In the visual cortex in the back of the brain, if you close your eyes and you imagine something, it's actually like a pattern of what it is that you're imagining there. You could, like, if you probed that, you could read out an image. Okay. These are, but you don't think about any of those things. What you think about is how all that information is processed through many layers of abstraction to symbolize what you saw. So as a result, what comes into the memory in my short-term memory in my prefrontal cortex is not necessarily all the physical details about this thing, but its meaning to me.
Toward the sanctity of existence.
I don't know what that means. It's meaning to me.
The value of existence.
No, the thing that this means to me, which is a bottle of thyroid medication.
It means life to you.
I guess I would survive without it. It just wouldn't work so well. You would have a much harder time. Okay.
Right.
Okay. So, I mean, yeah, I take it because it makes me feel
better. If we could bring it all around back, I wish we could. Everything is about the sanctity of existence. Everything you do. And the question is, why do you value that?
I don't know about sanctity. I don't know what that means. We do value our existence because we are driven to do that.
Why? That's the question.
It's
a telos.
Because the population members that lived with our ancestors that didn't have these behaviors didn't reproduce or didn't contribute to the gene pool.
Right.
And we're descended from the ones that just happen to have those behaviors.
And it's better to exist than to not exist.
As far as we feel about it, yeah.
Okay, that's my point. But
that's how we feel about it. This isn't something that somebody told us. This is something we tell ourselves.
Tim, you're right. It's a lie, right?
No, it's not a lie.
Does your life matter?
It's not a true or false thing.
Does your life matter?
To me, yes, it does.
Okay, is it true? Is it an objective
fact
that your life...
it is true that my life matters to me.
Okay, but objectively speaking, your life is meaningless.
As far as we can tell.
Okay, why is it that you lie to yourself? How did that come about?
I didn't, but I would be lying to myself if I said there is something else out there to whom, I mean, other than my family, okay, but something out in the universe or whatever, to whom my life matters. That would be a lie. But I'm not saying that. I'm saying my life matters to me and because we don't know, we don't have access to that thing. It might exist, it might not exist. We don't know, we can't ask it, so we just don't have the answer.
Do you know who Immanuel Kant is?
Vaguely.
Okay. You're aping what he taught, which was kind of silly. It's called transcendental idealism. We cannot know God because we cannot experience him with the senses. Therefore, anything that we posit about him must be by blind faith. Now,
well, that's the only other option you have.
You said it was wrong.
So there's two ways to get information about God. You can either get information from God about God, or you can guess. Those are your only options.
No, you can rationally deduce from the facts that we have.
But some of the facts that we have are the product of evolution. There's a whole lot of things we believe. There's a whole lot of things we believe because our ancestors evolved to have those behaviors. And so
how did those behaviors instantiate unintentionally? This is my whole question. Random
mutation in genes. This is what I was trying to explain to you with these little things with these evolutionary algorithms.
Were those randomness unintentional?
Where did the intentionality come from in these really simple simulated machines or simulated organisms?
It didn't arise accidentally.
Yeah, it sure did.
Well, accidental is the wrong word. It did not arise unintentionally.
No, but the programmer wasn't saying you shall develop goal-oriented behavior. No.
Then there is no program. If there's no programmer, there's no program.
Then what do you call the weights in the neural net that the programmer didn't put there, but that arose as a result of generations after generation of mutation?
You're giving a post hoc argument that is convenient for you, but you're not actually reasoning to your conclusion.
What I'm saying is that you're talking about goal-directed behavior. I'm pointing out something that has what we would describe as having goal-directed behavior, and I'm telling you that it descended from something that did not have goal-directed behavior.
Unintentional is intentional. That's what you're saying. You're violating the law of identity.
No, what I'm saying is that we're pattern recognizing machines, and we've defined intentionality we have came up with the idea of intentionality. We have said intentionality has certain criteria for things to fit. I've identified something that fits those criteria and explaining how it descended from something that doesn't. Okay. There is no intentionality as some ontological thing in the universe. Okay. This is an idea that we came up with.
So it's a lie.
No, it exists because we observe things that have certain behaviors.
We did not create it.
And we didn't create those behaviors. We created the label for those behaviors.
Right.
Okay.
True.
And those behaviors arose from evolutionary processes.
That's a just so story. It's irrational.
It's not a just so story. If you're talking about these things that I'm talking about on YouTube, where you can see generation after generation that there's a certain point when one individual ends up with a recurrent connection in its neural network and starts developing more goal-directed behavior.
So how does unintentionality intend intention?
Recurrence appears by accident.
You cannot violate the laws of thought in order to do science. Do you agree with that?
What laws of thought?
The law of identity, law of non-contradiction, the law of identity, the law of the excluded middle.
Those are just things that we observe from macroscopic
That's exactly
physics.
Right. That's not physics.
No, they're names that we apply to things. No, look, no. Logic is just a language that we've developed to describe things that we observe in the world. Okay, we observe things in the world, and very smart humans like Aristotle, took these observations and boiled it down to a handful of minimal axioms from which you can derive theorems to describe other things that we observe. Okay, so we have an oligarchy of axioms. Okay, so these axioms are
necessarily true.
No, they're the result of reverse engineering nature.
No,
if you look at
you can't do science.
You know what take ZFC. You know what ZFC is?
I do.
I'm running out of time. I got 5 minutes. Okay. You know what ZFC is?
No, I don't.
It's I can't remember the name. Zamello Franco something.
Fine. Just tell me what it is.
It's a system of mathematical axioms. Okay. Now, there's controversy. See, if these things were necessarily true, there would be no controversy. Okay. But there's debate over ZF is really effective. You can derive almost all of our known math from it. Okay. It's a set of axioms. Okay. What people did was they didn't say these are necessarily true. They said, given what we believe about mathematics, given the things that we observe in the world, if we pick this minimal set of axioms, we can derive those things from it. So it's reverse engineering. Okay. Now, there's an axiom of choice. This is a thing that some people think might be true and some people think might not be true. Okay. And if you include the axiom of choice, you can prove some things to be true that you can't prove to be true if you don't include the axiom of choice. Okay. So the exact axiom of choice is an example of an axiom that might be true, but we can't be sure. And there's controversy over it. Moreover, the set of axioms in ZFC or just ZF, okay, you could pick a different set of axioms as long as they lead to the same theorems that correspond with reality, then that doesn't matter what the axioms are. This set of axioms and this set of axioms aren't necessarily true. They're ones that work. That's why we use them, because they work, because it's empirical.
Because they sanctify existence.
Oh my God, no, because we're doing math and
I want you to think about that, Tim. I want you to think about that term, the sanctity of existence, how it guides everything that we do.
Sure, we have a self-preservation instinct. You're using some highfalutin word,
and it's an
sanctity of existence.
It's an objective reality.
No, it's a thing that we evolved.
Okay.
It's a thing. It's a behavior that we evolved to do.
Okay, Tim, we need to close this off. You need to go, and
Yeah.
I've got a ton of work to do. Do you think that I am a jerk?
I think that you are not a jerk. I think that you behave like one on Twitter, and I think that I would really like to try to help you have better, because I have been through this myself, and I've caused a lot of harm, and I learned how to not do it. I would like to share that with you.
Okay, all right.
Kyle, so you would like to share Jesus with me, right?
Do you have
I would like to share some Jesus-like things that I have learned with you.
Great. Do you have a couch in your home?
I have a few.
And a notebook? I can come and you can give me therapy.
No, you know what? It's funny. There's a lot of like semi-autistic people in the Minecraft community. Like
that's part of the problem right there.
No.
Minecraft, if you're on the spectrum and you don't see things, I think you're very black and white in the way you see things.
Yeah. No, I deal with this all the time. Like I'm in a Minecraft community that has like lots of PhDs. Like one of them, like I said, is a physicist at CERN. Okay. Computer science professors, chemistry professors, whatever. There's SciCraft is the name of the server, and they've got multiple PhDs. Okay. At getting into this community, I have accidentally ended up being therapist to a lot of people who have all these weird social problems. And some people won't listen. I'll explain to them, this is the behavior that you're exhibiting that is resulting in these responses that you don't like. And then other people, I've explained to them, and like a light bulb came on, and their behavior is practically overnight changed. This one guy who's just such a jerk to people, I explained to him, here's the thing you wrote on the bug tracker that really made people angry, and explained to him why. Everybody loves the guy now. It's weird just because he listened and he changed his behaviors.
Well, Tim, do you think it's possible that I might be able to teach you to not take yourself so seriously?
Yes. All right, I got to go.
Okay, man. All right, thank you very much. Hey, can we still get together next Thursday?
Yes, we're doing that.
All right, I'll make another event, and thank you very much. God bless you. Thank you for talking to me.
Take care.
All right, we'll see you. Bye.